Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's the 22nd of December and morning time around 9 o'clock. Great weather in Birmingham, West Midlands, in the UK. Good to see you all. Welcome to My Compound Life. This is a channel where we build assets, we build habits, and we build freedom. And hopefully that should be financial freedom and time freedom for you and I. And everyone out there too, okay? So this is another episode of Bitcoin Daily. If this is your first time watching, if you like the video, even if you don't, just hit the like, hit subscribe. I do daily Bitcoin video. Let me switch off the sound notification. Many of you complain about the notification, so let's make sure we don't get disturbed. So yes, I do daily Bitcoin video, cover a little bit about macro news that will impact Bitcoin price. So giving you guys some calmness, right? When you're holding such a volatile asset like Bitcoin. Of course, I might cover a little bit on crypto sometime, but more on the Bitcoin side because Bitcoin remains still the strongest, hardest performing asset in comparison to another cryptocurrency. So I just want to make sure whoever comes into My Compound Life, we compound on the right kind of asset, just so that we don't get sidetracked and go crazy with speculative investment. Okay, so let's start with fear and greed index. At present, we are in the fear zone, okay, at 24, which isn't bad, okay, as this can be reflected on the price action too. We are at around 89,500 USD per Bitcoin from the time of recording. Yesterday's fear and greed index, we were at around 17, 19, actually 21 for yesterday. And then for the day before, it was around 17. Okay, so we are seeing less fear. Okay, I can't say less fear. Obviously, we are still in the fear zone. But the fear level definitely improved, as I think usually holding Bitcoin over a longer period of time, people just forget about it, forget about the pain. And at any point of time with some slight improvement, people will think that, hey, Bitcoin is back, Bitcoin is so back. But it is not back yet, technically speaking, because the last all-time high, we were at around $126,000 per Bitcoin, and now we are at around 89,000. Okay, so I can't say not good. Longer term, Bitcoin is still the best performing asset and it will continue to increase. But for shorter term, lower down your expectation a little bit, right? Because it can go both ways, right? Either next year we will have an explosive move, or the fact that 4-year cycle for Bitcoin has ended. Essentially, that means we are gradually heading towards a bear market. So we shall see. Don't have too big of an expectation. Okay, from the time of recording, it does seem Bitcoin is trying to go higher. So good for all of us if you're in Bitcoin, right? 89,600, so that's good. Okay, so a little bit about price action. Bitcoin tries to reclaim $90,000. Okay, so I think the highest we went up earlier was around 89,900, and that's pretty much it. Okay, so up about 0.9% in 24 hours and 5.6% in a month. Okay, so yeah, I think we kind of gotten from the bottom of about 78,000. So so it, you know, it is progressing. Okay, it is progressing, don't get me wrong. However, I did look at the 50-day simple moving average chart earlier. Obviously the 50 days SMA obviously dropped down to about 92,800. Okay, because you know we haven't increased in Bitcoin price for such a long time, right? So I'm also guessing that there will be plenty of profit taking at around 90,000 to 92,000. Okay, so right now Bitcoin is trading around 88,000 to 89,500 in the past 24 hours. It went up a small 0.8 to 1%, starting from about 88,000, hitting a high near of 89,800. The market feels steady, but not highly exciting. If you can, you know, I'm sure you feel the same too, right? Because essentially we are retracing at this level. As long as Bitcoin doesn't go back to the $100,000 zone, you know, there won't be much excitement going on. So in terms of implication, I think short-term wise, it's pretty neutral for neutral to bullish for Bitcoin. There's still a lot of anticipation that, well, let's get the hell out of 2025. You know, we're gonna go into 2026 with heaps of quantitative easing, rate cuts, and everything, and then Bitcoin's gonna go to the moon, right? So there are still that bullishness from investors that are carrying them through the, you know, I can't say the tragic time of 2025 Q4. But however, it is a disappointment so far for 2025 Q4. Literally no Bitcoin or crypto pump, right? The anticipation of Bitcoin and crypto pump was so high earlier of last year, but until now, you know, everything increased in price except for Bitcoin and crypto. That's fine. Do bear with us. Okay, so let's look into news that will impact Bitcoin price. Okay, don't go away yet, right? We'll get into some of the listeners' questions just a moment, right? So bear with me, and hit the like, hit subscribe so that you get a dosage of Bitcoin daily through my video. Okay, so news that will impact Bitcoin price. Let's start off gold, right? Gold definitely shining bright like a star in the sky, in the miserably dark sky in the UK and in the US and anywhere else in the world, right? So Bitcoin is a shadow now, but can it catch up or fall more? Okay, that's always been everyone's questions. That's something constantly also on my mind. Do we need some gold to comment section? Comment down below, right? Let me know. Because I do understand that there are some listeners that are also pivoting from Bitcoin or crypto into gold, into silver too, right? We'll cover in some of the listeners' question later. So even for me, I mean, I'm also tempted, right? Gold, silver, AI, you know, definitely taking away mindshare for Bitcoin and crypto. Or someone can just essentially explain that no, it's not taking mindshare away. However, it's more of Bitcoin is suffering from lack of liquidity because of the US government shutdown, because of quantitative tightening and so forth, right? However, gold obviously hit a new all-time high over 4,400 per ounce, while Bitcoin stays below its peak. Experts say this shows Bitcoin's in end game phase, right? There are a lot of analysts that are giving, you know, quite negative thoughts on Bitcoin because obviously it's lagging behind gold, silver, and stocks, right? Go up because obviously, you know, there are so much uncertainty going on, rate hike, rate drop, you know, uncertainty with the smaller banks, loans, etc., etc. So gold, it's up, you know, because of safe haven. People worry about the economy. So I think with all of this in mind, gold taking mindshare away from Bitcoin, you know, it's giving that short-term bearishness, still affecting Bitcoin price. Bitcoin looks weak compared more in comparison, and more sell if gold keeps on rising. Okay, so people are shifting their investment into gold, right? So very likely this will not be the OG investors or people that are in Bitcoin like you and I for a more longer period of time, or have that understand the technology enough to know that it has a stronger fundamental than gold, right? But these are weekends that can easily get sidetracked and, you know, be brought to other alternate investments. So that's something to look out for. So obviously, if economy is bad, gold always wins, but Bitcoin can flip if risk is back on, right? Although I always talk about Bitcoin is a form of digital gold, it obviously is because of its scarce supply, right? However, also taking into consideration that many investors, they're not the same as you and I, right? So it does take time for them to understand that. And if one day they do understand Bitcoin is actually better than gold in terms of hardness and scarcity, right? This will change the game, right? This one day, Bitcoin will have a much bigger market cap or start stealing more market caps from gold. Okay, let's move on. Other news that could be highly impactful for Bitcoin: Dalio, right? Wise man Dalio gives honest talk. Bitcoin good, but not perfect. Yeah, it also makes me think about deep about future, right? So Ray Dalio, big investors, by the way, calls Bitcoin money, but says it falls short as store of wealth because volatile and not used much yet, right? So this, he lists reason like no wide use, price swing, etc., right? So yes, I think, you know, these are the general sentiment of Bitcoin, right? However, we are definitely seeing more market adoption, but certainly the adoption is not, you know, it's not increasing at such a pace that people are sensing that, right? Although we do have a lot of ETF buying, so I'm not updating any ETF news because we just passed the weekend, you know, that there isn't any ETF buying over the weekend, right? So we are definitely seeing more institutions adoption, etc., and more banks accepting Bitcoin and crypto, right? So essentially, once this starts to mature, once there are more clarity in terms of regulations and so forth, right? There will be more products, more use cases of Bitcoin in a more traditional financial institutions, right? So look forward to that, and do not panic sell your Bitcoin, because in the future, even in the UK, right, it's coming to availability in the US where Bitcoin can get loans in a traditional bank, but in the UK, you know, maybe we can also get more of that clarity soon, right? So don't sell your Bitcoin because you will be impacted with quite a high capital gain tax in the UK. And what you might want to do is to hodl your Bitcoin so that you can get loans from it, right? And then the fact that Bitcoin CAGRs goes up on a yearly basis, if we're taking Saylor, Michael Saylor's CAGR of, you know, 30%, 35%, essentially, you know, you can get more loans in the future, right, to pay it off, etc., etc. Okay, so that's something to bear in mind. Okay, another news, I think this is quite an important one. and constantly flooding, right, Bitcoin. It's quantum computing. Okay, so every time, it does seem every time when Bitcoin dumps or Bitcoin get to a slightly bearish situation or with poor price action, quantum computing issue will always come out. Okay, so it never ever comes out when Bitcoin pumps or get to the all-time high. It always, this is like, it's like someone is weak, someone is, not good, they're not winning the fight, and then someone just comes in and give him another good kick in or something, right? So yeah, so quantum computing concern weighed on Bitcoin long-term strategy. Some say quantum can break Bitcoin security one day. No doubt, it definitely will, right? And before even if we get into any of such thing, there will be more revised, improved cryptography that can help us to, get past that quantum computing hurdle. Okay, so to be honest, this will not just hit Bitcoin, it will hit any other online security, right? So traditional bank, centralized ledger will be more prone into quantum computing more than Bitcoin, right? So this is not today's problem, but more in the future, and not to worry just yet. However, right? However, if you do have concern, right, make sure you subscribe or keep up with quantum news and be ready to rotate out of the Bitcoin in the future, but not now, okay? So definitely all of this news cause a lot of FUD, short-term bearishness. So that's why people continue to sell, right? Especially weekends, they bought Bitcoin when the price was quite high at around 100,000. It dropped a little bit. And then with more of such FUD, investors just cannot hang on to that Bitcoin anymore. So that's why they sell, right? So short-term bearish. But once price action improve a little bit, usually this kind of FUD just flies away. Okay. Any other Bitcoin news that are worthwhile to call out? I think Russia, it's one to call out. Russia opening door like a cold country, getting warm up, just about getting warm up for Bitcoin and crypto. Okay, so this person, I can't pronounce the name. If we do have Russian viewers out there, maybe you can let me know how to pronounce it. Elvira Nabiolink announced this on December 21st, 2025 in an RBC interview, noting Bitcoin's mining potential role in strengthening the ruble and ongoing talks on crypto regulations. So Russia's central bank plans ease Bitcoin and crypto rules, right? So I'm sure Russia are seeing that, US are trying to build up strategically on Bitcoin, right? And potentially, utilizing Bitcoin to back their US dollars. I'm not saying that's from a speculation perspective, okay? So if you're still into gold, right, absolutely diversify, right? And that's what Russia is doing, right? And China, of course, continue to buy more gold. However, they do also have a huge stash of Bitcoin too, right? So, of course, they don't publicly announce in China that, they're out heavily buying Bitcoin. However, they do confiscate a lot. So bear that in mind, right? So countries, nations are adopting into Bitcoin, right? And rightfully, you should too. Okay, another news, Michael Saylor, I think will Saylor be buying more Bitcoin soon? On his latest X post, what he said was green dots beget orange dots. So will he be buying more, right? We'll see. I think let's see in this couple of days whether there will be more announcement. Last but not least, right, hear me out, this is quite important, right? Author Hayes believes Bitcoin is headed for USD 200,000 by March 2026, right? Is this another Tom Lee publicly asking retail not to sell, asking retail to buy because Bitcoin will be going to the moon? However, also in his own private trading club, he might be advising not to buy, right? So be careful with this kind of influencers talking about Bitcoin. I mean, they're not obviously like social media influencers. There are some reputable individual in the finance sector, but please be careful with this kind of thoughts. So I'm calling this out just for you guys to take note of, what's going on in the market and different people's perspective. And of course, by no means, these are kind of like asking you to FOMO in and buy Bitcoin and crypto right now, okay? So the target Author Hayes is giving us will be Bitcoin will more than double in value, jumping from its current price of around 88,000 to around 200,000 USD by March 2026. So the safety net, right? Even if the price drop after hitting that peak, he expects it won't fall lower than 124,000. I think that's BS, right? Because I think right now Bitcoin fair value is around 70,000. I think even by the time it gets to 200,000, it should still be at around 90,000-ish, right? So big numbers, big bullish numbers, just sandbag this, right? Make sure you sandbag this and remember to take profit, right? So I love bullish numbers, right? But at the same time, I'm always conservative with all of my investment. Yep. So hit like, hit subscribe, and let me manage your expectations so that we always have a more sandbag approach when we look at all of this bullish price prediction. Short-term outlook for the rest of this month, December, he expects the price to wiggle between 80,000 to about 100,000. Okay, so will there be a Santa rally, right? I hope so, right? So here's Otter's theory, which is quite important. Why does he think this will happen? The main reason is a change in government money policy. He points to a new strategy by Federal Reserve, the US central bank, called Reserve Management Purchase, RMP. Okay, we all knew about this. And Reserve Management Purchase, while the name sounds technical, Hayes argued it is basically money printing or quantitative easing. So historically, when the government pumps more money into the system, the value of asset like Bitcoin tends to shoot up because there is more cash available in the system to buy them. Okay, so here are definitely something to look forward to for 2026, right? But on another note, right, watch my other video. So it's a title that says, can Bitcoin still moon if without rate cut and money printing? Okay, I repeat, can Bitcoin still moon if without rate cut and money printing? Because it kind of explains some tactics that Fed will use, such as supplementary leverage ratio, call them SLR, as opposed to full-blown quantitative easing or money printing and infinite rate cut to an already performing market. Okay, so take note of that. The market is already performing, gold, silver, equity market, all-time high, right? Very likely Fed will not, want to print more or even, reduce interest rate that many occasions, right? So watch that video. Perhaps that would gives you more understanding of the situation and be more conservative when we kind of look at all of these huge, massive numbers, Bitcoin price prediction from all of them. Okay, so overall summary for the past 24 hours, I think Bitcoin price has been steady, 89,600 right now, small tiny uplift of around 0.8%, and that's it. Heads up, if you're still hopeful for a Santa rally, so 3 more days until Christmas. Let me know in the comment if you still expect a Santa rally. Okay, so thanks for watching to, for my daily rant on Bitcoin. So off to the listener question call out now. Macker89, thanks for the shout out. Looking forward to sharing my thoughts in future, and hopefully together we can all achieve financial freedom together. Fantastic, Macker89, good one. I'm guessing maybe you just started your investment journey, so no rush, as my channel is not kind of like a get rich quick scheme, right? Certainly we build assets. It has to be strong, lasting asset, and of course we build great habits to manage all of our assets, and of course ultimately we want to build freedom, as hinted by you. That will be financial freedom for you and I and many others that watches the channel. So essentially slow, steady, and that can be long lasting. Thanks for leaving such a good message, Macker89. Perhaps we can do a podcast interview with you one day to check on progress too. Yeah, so let me know whether you want to do that. Okay, another listener, Burrito Slay 3R. I just DCA daily, been doing it for years. Absolutely, Burrito Slay 3R. Absolutely, keep doing that. I think in the UK we call it pound cost average. Yes, the same thing, dollar cost average. So PCA, DCA is definitely the best strategy for such a volatile asset like Bitcoin. But at the same time, it's such a low barrier of entry for investment, right? £5 a day, $10 a day, right? Just stash that pound away, put it into a Bitcoin. It'd be quite a painful thing, if you made £20, £50, £35 a day, you want to stash away for safekeeping of £5. Take for instance, right? And then for you to head to a bank, it's such a pain in the ass to bank in something, right? So very likely you might just spend it. Okay, so why not just store it into Bitcoin, right? Watch some of my video that talks about Bitcoin being your bank that can help you to save, that can help you to compound your money, that can help you to invest, where you should always have a hodl bag for Bitcoin as well as a swing bag that you can buy low and sell high, right? These are the best thing, like a good habit for you and I to manage our Bitcoin moving forward. So good one, Burrito Slay 3R. Thanks for the message. Leave more comments, let me know your thoughts, how you're getting on in the future. Okay, another one from Wojang N. I think it's Wojang N. Apology if I can't pronounce it correctly. Okay, so his message was better to be bullish into lows rather than be bullish into price extremes. Absolutely, right? Also, 4-year cycle is measured from low to low. You're right. Not low to high, meaning you can still have an all-time high into 2026 and a shorter, more aggressive bear market to compensate. I think absolutely right in terms of measurement, low to low. I'm most hoping for an all-time high for sure. I'm like you, waiting for another all-time high, but also happy with a dead cat bounce to get rid of my Bitcoin swing back. Anyhow, I'm still hopeful for some bounce before heading into a much shorter bear market. I actually quite look forward to an aggressive bear market, and I hope when you say aggressive, essentially it means the Bitcoin price action, that it gets so low that we can accumulate from the low. Okay, so great. Thanks for leaving us a comment. Another viewer, 2 days ago, he left health trust movement. Hello, health trust movement. Maybe you talk about health too. I think health is wealth. Definitely make sure you exercise, go to the gym like I do almost every day. Make sure you maintain your health so that you can enjoy your wealth in the long run, right? So health to wealth. His comment is, I think it's still good to buffer yourself from the volatility by diversifying a bit. Yeah, absolutely. I've been all in on BTC for a long time, but recently allocated 40%, wow, in physical silver for next year. Great video, by the way. Thanks for the great video, by the way. But it's always lovely. It's always nice to hear from listener. Thanks for such a lovely comment. Always nice to hear back from listener that had pleasant experience. Anyway, leave me more comment, good or bad. I'm trying to make this video content creation a habit, and I promise the more video I make, video quality, sound of video, quality of content, everything will be improved over a period of time, right? I just keep on doing it. So this is why I started my compound life, so that I can build great habits too and share that with all of you guys. I also did talk about diversification to health trust movement because, well, yeah, I mean, personally, my investment is pretty diversified from properties, real estate investments onto growth stocks, mainly on Tesla. I'm also thinking of expanding that too, but maybe now is not the right time to get in. Wait for to crash a little bit before I move in again. Maybe I will put forward on other AI investment too. So I did talk about gold and silver, right? Because it's how the investment, how money are shifting, right? And to that extent, that will also get into my compound life portfolio, but not in this cycle, maybe the next cycle, right? So I'll wait for things to drop a little bit. For me now, it's much more liquidate, cash in hand, make sure that I've got enough capital to re-enter when we get back to the Bitcoin bear market. And of course, I'll definitely, also take into your consideration too and diversify. So good one, health, truth, movement. Okay, last but not least, viewer from 2 days ago, HAYES NDJA. Hello, HAYES NDJA. Good to see you. Thanks for leaving a comment. Lots of quantum complaints and crying going on. Makes me realize many in this space are not here for Bitcoin, but here for fiat. Sounds about right. The funniest part is there are the same people who worship AI. Yes, I do worship AI a little bit, and ask any AI program, they'll view quantum as a non-threat. The vulnerable coins will get frozen. Bitcoin will keep chugging along, absolutely. And this time next year, we're at all-time high. HAYES and DJA, I like your optimism that Bitcoin will be all-time high next year. Yeah, I did cover a little bit on quantum today. It always appears the same people that nags about quantum usually nags when Bitcoin price slightly dipped, right? So nothing to worry about for any viewers out there. If quantum computer that does comes in, right, Bitcoin will be the least to worry about. I think for any of the TradFi traditional finance system, will be more worried about quantum computing, right? So I'm sure there will be more solutions when, closer to the future to, think about cryptography for, for quantum computing. Okay. Thanks for all of you listener. Thanks for all who watched to the end, and drop a like, hit subscribe, become my 35th to 40th subscribers, leave a comment so that I can shout out to you guys too, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.